So the kind of, this is sort of going to sort of serve as a transition between the introduction to African cinema and then going into the FAF reading. But sort of the main points that I want to kind of emphasize and will orient us for today, right, is, again, this kind of thinking about the relationship of like a continental but also an international cinema, right? The question of canon, right? Who gets to designate the canon? And what is the significance of that designation? 3, the relationship to something that we have to be kind of careful of, but the cultural and historical relationship to the regional. We've already talked about this, especially in terms of Asia, but we'll see a lot of this as well here. Let me see. Oh, and of course, colonialism, the legacy of colonialism. And sovereignty, I suppose. Sort of post-colonial. Which, and if it's not clear already, these things kind of tie into one another, right? The sort of self-designation, selfhood, right? But I do want to say that, like, just something to be a little bit careful of with the FAF is that I think that this is a reading that we want to be a little bit careful with. And what I mean by that is that I think it's sort of referential value, or meaning as a reference, or explanatory power. I think it's a little weaker than some of the other readings, which means that, with the other readings, I think that our job is a lot of time more to kind of try and understand it, try to kind of fully comprehend the claims and see how it's built. This is one I think that we have to be a little bit more hands-on about, and a little bit more analytical, and a little bit more critical. That I think there are some questions that FAF doesn't really get into, and also simultaneously, I think that there are some kind of, and I know I'm being vague right now, and I'll be a little bit more explicit once we get into it, but especially in terms of this relationship, I would suggest that FAF plays a little bit fast and loose into, reading the kind of significance of Sembene, and I think it's actually kind of unfair to Sembene to suggest that this is why he's a significant filmmaker, but also again kind of misses out on some sort of like crucial chunks. Like, for example, again, what is the regionalism of cinema, of the rules of cinema, and or, what are Sembene's influences? So that's, kind of what to keep in mind now. We'll move on and start actually talking about the